Hey, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to your elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rakayer from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. Tonight's lesson is entitled, May She Rest in Her Preference. And it's inspired by this clip that's been circling the Brotherhood recently from Corey Holcomb's podcast, which is basically going into how the Lord is removing the stand and staff from amongst Eve. And now a lot of these women are finding themselves jobless and without victuals, which is exactly what the Lord foretold and prophesied of. And now we're living in that day and age where the Lord is forcibly removing the pride from amongst a lot of these women, which was fostered from the covenant that they made with the devil. But now that the devil's covenant is being disannulled, theirs is also. And since a lot of these women preferred the covenant and the agreement with the so-called white man, the devil, which is chiefly you so-called Negro, Latino, and Native women, a lot of you are going to have to rest in that preference. But without further ado, I'm going to play a couple of minutes of this video. I'm going to grab a couple of precepts. Lord, when it's satisfying unto you elect. I wanted to start off actually here in Isaiah chapter 3. In verse 1, it says, For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. Which, actually, I want to see what that says in the NLT. Let's see what the NLT has to say. It's Isaiah 3:1 in the NLT. The Lord of heaven's armies, will take away from Jerusalem and from Judah everything they depend on, which is exactly what the Lord is doing. All right, the Lord is taking away everything that 2/3 of our people have depended on regarding this society. He's taking away the power that the so-called white man has, and he's taking away also a lot of these incentives that the so-called white man has put in place, all right, to foster single-parent households and degeneracy amongst our people, and to prop you women up in the society. The Lord is taking away all that too. A lot of these women depend on these different legislations and incentives that the so-called white man has set in place to stay on top of the society and to stay on top of the Israelite man. But the Lord is taking away all that shit. And now what's happening is the Lord is forcing the world back into reality, back into the real way of things. Where the Israelite man is on top, spearheaded by Yahweh Shai. That way of life and that standard is coming back into the earth in a big way. And it's starting now with a lot of these women losing their jobs and these different incentives that have allowed themselves to prop themselves up in the society over the man. But let's get into it.
All of them. A lot of sisters are losing their jobs.
Talking about the government jobs that he was trying to shut down?
Yeah, a lot of jobs.
Hey, and the Lord said in Isaiah the 19th chapter that there will be no work for Egypt. It's Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 14. It says, The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. All right, and all these jobs, all right, that these women have prided themselves in, all these STEM fields, all of these work fields that require degrees and higher levels of education, so to speak. All of that is being taken away, and a lot of these degrees that these women are getting, they're not being able to use them because a lot of these jobs aren't existent. So basically, they've wasted their whole college life for nothing. They wasted their whole life chasing these degrees that Esau's put in front of their face for nothing. Because the mill is getting ready to stop. All this grinding, like it says in Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, all of this grinding is getting ready to cease. Pretty soon there won't be any more work for Egypt. A lot of these AIs are taking over jobs anyways. And a lot of this shit, a lot of the grinding is getting ready to cease. which is going to put you women in a very hard predicament. It's going to force you into reality. And the reality of the matter is you aren't as powerful as the so-called white man allowed you to think you are. And you don't have the options that the so-called white man afforded you. But that reality is coming in a big way. You know, and it's already a reality for a lot of these women out here. I think it said over like 70,000. You know, you Evites, man.
Shit, UPS is fired 70,000.
I thought it was 22,000 last time. Remember I covered it?
Yeah, I think the goal is 70. But I think the goal is.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, my sisters, the roosters are coming home. My sisters, everything you did is finna come back on you because they have people in place government-wise to show you we used you to destroy the village.
Which is exactly what the serpent did, you know, back in the garden. You know, that pact that Eve made with the serpent in the garden is the very same thing that's happening in today's day and age. You know, Eve has made this pact with the so-called white man, this serpent. All right, nowadays, to prop herself up over the man. You know, the way that's happened is the serpent gave her an illusion of options. You know, the serpent gave her an illusion of an option. Oh, you don't have to do this. You could do this. You know, and these Eves, the women fell for it. Eve fell for it, and these women nowadays fall for it. Esau present these options in front of them like it's a better option outside of the standard of the Lord. You know, and they fall for it, hook, line, and sinker every time. Every single time. But that covenant is coming into an end. You know, the Lord is disannulling that covenant as we speak.
Place government-wise to show you we used you to destroy the village. Now we really have no use for you no more. Your daddy ain't there. Your husband ain't there. Your son is raised wrong.
And why is this? You know, why isn't the daddy there? Why isn't the husband there? Why are the sons being raised wrong? It's because these women have been propped up as the head of the household through Esau Edom. Because going back to these different government incentives, all right, that a lot of these women have taken, all right, a lot of the incentive is to have the man outside of the house in order to receive certain government aids, Section 8, and so on and so forth. You have to have a man. The man cannot be present inside of the household, and that's a tactic that was done by the enemy to destroy the nation of Israel, to further destroy the nation of Israel. Because not only did he bind the strong man, all right, after he bound the strong man, he overtook the house, and he gave Eve incentives, options, and through those options, Eve drove our nation further down the shithole. And the only ones that see that and are calling it out are the prophets through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. The prophets did it first. You might have other men on these podcasts calling it out, but the prophets did first. Nobody had the vision until the Lord sent the vision to his prophets. Nobody was talking about these things until the prophets started speaking about these things. Nobody. Everybody was just going along with the get along. Now things are being called out. Now the woman is being called out, which is the elephant in the room for a lot of these niggas, which is a soft spot for a lot of these niggas because they've been raised to be effeminate and emotional. But nevertheless, it's coming out. It's coming out. And a lot of the foul, degenerate, wicked shit these women have done to these men to get over and to get a foothold in the society is getting ready to turn right back on their head, which is why as I said in the beginning, a lot of these women are going to have to rest in their preference. R.I.P. Ain't no rest in peace. You have to rest in your preference, with this covenant that you've made with the so-called white man. Because the so-called white man is being driven to destruction. And so a lot of you women.
Now, we have no use for you no more. Your daddy ain't there. Your husband ain't there. Your son is raised wrong. Your daughter is watching you twerk. You have done what we wanted you to do well in destroying the village. The father of your child is probably in court with you over nothing. We have used you to the same way, like back in the day, Eve ate from the forbidden tree.
Right.
This is the same thing.
And she didn't eat from a tree. That's a false narrative perpetuated by Christianity. It was a philosophy at the end of the day that Eve took hold of, that was presented to her by a serpent, a cunning man, in that Garden of Eden. That's what she partook of, a philosophy, a way of life, that was presented to her outside of the standard that the Lord gave Adam.
You ate from the forbidden tree. You went and used a system that destroys you to destroy your family. And now, with this administration,
but it wasn't packaged like that, which is how it got a lot of you women. It wasn't packaged as self-destructive. It was packaged as gaining a foothold, gaining power, amassing power, amassing wealth, importance. That's how it was packaged. It was packaged as liberation. That's how it was packaged to a lot of you women, which is why you fell for the bait. And that's why the Lord has the man as the head of the household, because the man is able to see through a lot of this shit, especially the men of the Lord. The men of the Lord especially are able to see through a lot of these devices that Esau Edom presents. Because as the scripture says in 2 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. The Lord has given us the insight into how the devil thinks, into how he works, where his thought process is. The Lord told us not to trust our enemies in Sirach, the 12th chapter. The Lord has given the man the blueprint on how to lead and how to be a critical thinker. Eve was not given that ability, man. Wisdom, the ability to exercise wisdom through the spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua was not given to her. It was given to the man to then impart into his wife, and then for the wife to impart into the children, and so on and so forth. But it's too late to recognize that now. For a lot of you women, it's too late. You're going to have to rest in that preference, baby. It's over for you.
They have no use for you. Remember all the female black mayors and everything that was happening and all like that?
Yeah.
They ain't got no use for that shit no more. I see the girl. We are the most educated. Yes, they sold you a degree that ain't finna be worth. Yeah. You.
Right, and they took all the focal point off of trades and actual jobs that are going to forward, society, nationhood. They took all the focus out of that and put all the focus on these degrees. Now these women are going for degrees in arts and communications and all of this bullshit that doesn't really amass to anything. And then they end up $60,000, $100,000, $500,000 in debt, which puts the family further down the hole. So no matter if she comes out a doctor, I just seen an Eve the other day on social media going into how she was $500,000 in debt, chasing a medical degree. Which goes to show that once you even go to start a family with that Eve, you're $500,000 in the hole on top of whatever debt that you have. And it's designed that way because the so-called white man don't want you to have a foothold on nothing.
Who have aged out and fell for the sucker shit in destroying your village, your family, and yourselves. The only thing you can do is try to tell your children, don't do what I did. All you women 40, 50, 60, it's over for you. You need to explain to your children, don't do what I did. Don't.
Which a lot of them are not going to explain to their children, don't do that. Because a lot of these women who are 30, 40 years old, who are starting to come to that realization that they're done, are bitter about it. They're hurt. And hurt people hurt people. I just seen an Eve last month, had to be every bit of 40-something years old, telling college with these women in college, don't settle, don't get into a relationship, don't settle. Any man that make your pussy purr, sleep with him. Verbatim. She said, go ahead, get it out the way. That's the type of advice that 30, 40-year-old women are giving to these younger women in today's day and age. Because although they realize they're through and they made the wrong choices, they're not going to help the other generation because they're prideful and they're hurt. And women are very devious. And they want to see the same thing happen to them so they can say, oh, I told you so. Oh, we in the same boat, instead of helping out. That's why a lot of these mothers go to the club with their children and go partying with their daughters and allow them to wear skimpy clothing and allow them to be free spirits while they're young. It's because they don't give a damn about them. They want them to make the same mistakes or even worse mistakes that they did and have to figure it out just like they are. A lot of these women are through, man. Finished. Especially you 30, 40-year-old women, you're done. You're done. I know you realize it, but the only difference is now the world is coming to that realization. As were they were in a stupor in times past, now the world is coming to that realization. A lot of you fucking women are through, man.
Don't go around here talking about you don't need a man publicly. Don't go around bashing men for the most part publicly. Because all these women who are on the internet for bashing men, there's a record of it, and I think we need to keep a record of these women in case they try to act like they something different later on. But most of them will follow who's ever the leadership. Whether the leadership is good or bad, they'll follow the leadership. While we're in this position we're in, I'm talking about the moral people of the world.
I'm going to stop it right there. I'm going to grab these last precepts and then we're going to close it out. This is Isaiah 28 and verse 15. It says, because ye have said we have made a covenant with death, and in hell we are at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. And that's exactly what the majority of our people say. Especially these women, they're at peace with death. They're at peace with the covenant that they made in hell with the so-called white man. They're at peace with this. So therefore, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not, it says, therefore, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, and a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make it haste. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet. And the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the water shall overflow the hiding place. So the Lord said, all right, judgment is he going to lay to the line. The Lord gonna lay to the line judgment, man. And righteousness to the plummet. A lot of you are gonna be met with the judgment of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, man. And it's your just desert. Everything that you've sown in the earth, the Lord is getting ready to allow you to reap it. The Lord is going to make you rest in your preference. You preferred the so-called white man. Be at peace with it. Be at peace with his judgment as long as yours. Scripture say all those who are joined hand in hand shall be thrust through. And with that, Lord wants to edify unto you elect. We want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakodash. And double honors to our apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Shalom. Stay up.